wanted to, and I wanted to be here on that back. AI, yeah. So, well, that's why you don't want to be out of the room for too long, but I wanted to show up here and
I feel like I need to do a 10 minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah, can you? Yes, but I don't know. Of course, of course.
Oh, great. Hey, Robert.
Oh, you're checking? Yes, I'm checking. I'm going to get Tim Green here.
Yes, of course.
I'm going to go around and find people
Okay.
to check in. Hold on for 1 second.
Do you need the mic?
Where is Mary and Tammy? Right here. Who is?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for showing up. We are going to start off our advocacy summit with one of our own task force members, Tim Green from North Carolina, a retired letter carrier, who's going to sing the national anthem.
I got a fan club back there. Something I'd like to say briefly before I do this. This is a memory of a former Marine and letter carrier. And we were here 20 years ago for this very issue. And Congressman Howard Coble looked at Bill and said, "Bill, probably not in your lifetime." Then he turned to me like this and said, "Tim, probably in your lifetime, this will be repealed." Oh, say, can you see the dawn's early light? What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight and the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. Rockets red glare, the bombs sting and gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, spangled banner had waved by the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Hello again. I am Betty Marafino from Connecticut, and I am president of the Connecticut Alliance for Retired Americans. And just to give you a brief history, our National Repeal WEP GPO Task Force, late May 2020, just at the start of the pandemic, some of the Connecticut Alliance, the National Alliance for Retired American chapters got together on a Zoom call to talk about the WEP and the GPO. At the time, we really thought it only involved teachers. Oh, we were wrong. What we realized was it covers many federal employees, letter carriers, firefighters, police fighters, federal employees, and foreign pensioners. It covers a lot of people. And so we started to expand our task force. We meet almost on a weekly basis. And so we are here today to support H.R. 82 and Senate 597, which is the counterpart to 82. And we are so happy to see so many national groups represented here today at our advocacy summit. And I'm going to turn this over to our vice chair, Susie Dixon from California.
Thank you. Oh. Thank you, Betty. And first of all, thank you to everyone, especially our national WEP GPO repeal task force. Please raise your hand if you're a member, because this has been a grassroots effort of all public service employees that came together to fight for the same cause. We're gathered to here today because we understand that a collaboration and unity is the way we get things done. That's how teachers had to work in their classroom. And it's time for our elected officials to do the same for all of their constituents. This is a serious issue that's gone on way too long, and it needs to stop. The burdens on teachers, firefighters, police, border patrol, foreign pensioners, community college workers, it is time to remove them and let them live their senior years in dignity. We wonder why there's such a high homeless country. Find the articles that are studying the newly homeless. It's tragic. By working together, we can get this done. As Betty always knows from me, I'm the eternal optimist, but I'm also a realist, and we realistically have to work together in an aggressive, polite, bipartisan manner to get this done now. So it's with great pleasure we're going to be welcoming our guest speakers. I wasn't taking attendance, so if we call your name and you are here, please come up. And if you're not, I will mark you for later. Okay, so you
Thank you. Our first speaker is the president of the Alliance for Retired Americans, Robert Roach. It's fitting we start off our presentation with Robert Roach because it was the Alliance chapters that began this task force. Go ahead, Robert.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Robert Roach, President of Alliance for Retired Americans, and I'm here on behalf of 4.4 million grassroots members for the Alliance for Retired Americans. Thank you for inviting me to show support for an extremely important issue, the repeal of WEP GPO, which is denying hundreds of thousands of retirees and their survivors some of their Social Security benefits they have earned. I wish to thank the people from the Alliance for Retired Americans for being part of the founding of this great coalition. This not only affects Social Security beneficiaries, this affects the family of Social Security beneficiaries who are not receiving their full Social Security because they're being penalized by a law that was passed in the 80s, WEP GPO. And we're calling for the repeal. We have HR 82 and it's 597. And I'm not going to sit around and talk about what this is all about because you know what it's all about. That's why you're here. We're here to talk about Congress passing a bill to protect American citizens who have worked hard for years and years to earn a decent retirement. We're here to demand that Congress act on the behalf of the people that sent them to Capitol Hill to do their job. This has been going, we have a lot of talk, a lot of discussions about this. We know what it's about. And we're at the point that we're tired of, I'm gonna buy. We're tired of people just telling us, we're with you. We want action on behalf of the government. And we're here as part of a major coalition. I see my sister Randy Weingarten here. Very powerful person taking time out to talk about this discussion because that's how important it is to the American people. And so we're saying, let's get a vote. Vote. Vote these two bills, pass it, put it on the president's desk. Let's get it done. We're tired of happy talk. We're tired of people telling us what they're going to do. We want to get it done. And so I don't want to take up much of your time just to say we are here standing with the coalition. We will be here to fight. We're physically fit, mentally alert, and we're ready to fight for these particular issues. We're with you, 100%. Thank you. Okay.
Put Randy next because she has to leave.
Oh,
Okay. And then we'll do my turn.
okay. All right. Our next guest speaker is Miss Randy Weingarten, of the National President of the American Federation of Teachers. What an honor. Thank you. Come on up. Oh, she's blocked in.
Thank you. It's perfect. So look, notice who's here. And I'm so glad my colleagues, not just Robert, but my colleagues from the labor movement are here. Because this is a labor issue. This is an organized issue. This is a public sector organized labor issue. And that's why we're all here today. There's one simple proposition that we are trying to get corrected, which is that when you pay into Social Security, you should have right to that Social Security regardless of where you have worked in your last few years. And frankly, it's not more complicated than that. And what happened in the 80s was, for whatever reason, there was a pullback to create a savings for local governments. Just like we've seen that pullback of local and state governments trying to pull back on pensions. But this was really nefarious. Because what this said was, if you happen to have a pension that many people were paying into as well, in certain states, you no longer would get your entire Social Security because you have that pension. That is dead wrong. Social Security was supposed to be a basic right from FDR, which we have expanded since then. It is the basic safety net. Pensions are deferred compensation that people get in lieu of wages at that moment. It is what people are supposed to live on in retirement because of the work they have done. These things were supposed to be a both and, not an either or. And what we are simply doing is trying to rectify an injustice that is happening in some states. And that is why I am here today. Now, ultimately, thankfully, this is not a one party versus another party issue. We now have over almost 300 people in the House of Representatives, 289 members, right? 290. 290 members. Now, this is a House of Representatives that doesn't actually agree on much. But 290 members, led by a Republican and a Democrat, Reverend. If he gets this, he will be Reverend. Representative Graves and Representative Spanberger. They are leading this charge. But nothing happens without activism.
That's right.
And that is why we are all here today at this rally after the press conference, because we have to be that front line, those activists for every single person who's gotten hurt by this. And count me in, and the 1.7 million members of the AFT as part of that activist core. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to call a very valuable task force member from Louisiana, Janice Hernandez, who will introduce our next speaker.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Bet. I'm Janice Hernandez, the immediate past president and legislative chairperson of the Louisiana Retired Teachers Association and a proud member of the National WEP GPO Repeal Task Force. I'm so honored to be able to introduce our Louisiana State Representative, Mike Johnson, an attorney from Pineville, Louisiana. If you follow the National WEP and GPO Repeal Movement Facebook page, you are probably aware that he is often known as our hero. Let me tell you a little about him, and then I'll ask if you agree. When a constituent came to him, a retired teacher, upset because her husband died suddenly, and she found out she would not be earning Social Security benefit, despite the fact he owned his own business and paid both employee contributions for over 30 years. Mike had no idea, Representative Johnson had no idea what she was talking about. Thought surely that was a mistake. After doing some research, he learned more about WEP GPO. And he didn't tell her, oh, I'm so sorry, that's a federal law, and you need to contact your congressman. He contacted representatives of organizations whose members are affected, and invited them to lunch so he could learn more. He later had a follow-up meeting and organized a group trip to D.C. to meet personally with our representatives and senators. And it was through him that I learned about the task force, the Facebook page, the website, and last year's rally in D.C. I attended because of Representative Johnson's involvement, and I have continued my involvement in an effort to represent our affected members. But he didn't stop with that. Representative Johnson has been in office for 4 years, and each year he had a resolution passed encouraging his fellow legislators to support repeal and to encourage other state legislatures to do the same. And all of you can ask your state legislators to do the same. So what do you think about the title of hero bestowed upon him? Isn't it fitting?
Yes.
Please give a warm welcome to our friend, our hero, Louisiana State Representative Mike Johnson.
Well, good afternoon. I didn't know I was going to get an interview. I would have gotten here early. You know, I am just so thankful and want to thank you for so many of you, the smart ones, trees, to come to Washington, D.C. at your expense to hear you have your voice heard. And for so many of those who are online, who are watching this, to have their voice heard and to be a part of something that's so important. You know, we hear numbers. We hear about this many people. We got to have 290. But you know, it's about all those stories that I know many of you have lived, but all of you have heard about. I'm proud to be here today representing the over 100,000 people who are retired teachers who taught me to children, firemen, policemen, and the many, many, many more who are coming in right behind them, who are going to be adversely affected by this crazy law that we've allowed to stay on the books for so long. It's really incredible when you consider that the people we're talking about, the teachers, firemen, the policemen, the public service people, are people that took jobs that paid less to serve us. They worked other jobs to be able to do that work. And then when it comes time to be paid, not asking for a handout, not asking for charity, asking for a return on the investment that they made on a trust that the people they cared for would still be there to care for them and their loved one. I am proud to be from the state of Louisiana, where for 5 years we have unanimously voted to support a resolution calling upon our state attorney general to seek legal manner of relief for our retirees, but also to ask our congressman to support the repeal. Someone mentioned that this is bipartisan. I got to tell you, it is few places that are more partisan than parts of Louisiana, but it didn't matter your age, your sex, your race, your political affiliation. 100% for 5 years of every elected state representative and senator voted to support the action that we're calling for now. And our congressmen from Louisiana have done a great job. I would ask you to please call on your state representatives, because politics in many ways is local. Call on them to pass resolutions. You know, we're here today because it's somewhat of a special occasion. We had the announcement from my Louisiana's native son, Garrett Graves, of the 290 signees. But we're here today to celebrate the goodness of people, because you have renewed my faith in the goodness of people, but also the effectiveness of participation in democracy. We wouldn't be here. How long has this fight been going on? 40 years. Only last year did we barely get the numbers because of this group and because of those who are online. This year we've got a whole year to push this to the floor and to the vote. Louisiana is a place where we know all too well the effect of being in harm's way. Whether it be hurricane or most recently wildfires and drought. And in every one of those situations, who did we call for? We called our firemen, we called our policemen, we even called our teachers to help us in that bind. It seems very little to us simply to push this effort for them. We join hands today to do the right thing, to right a wrong. And we call on those in power right across the street who are, by just so happen, in air conditioning, to simply do the right thing. And then I call on all of us, because there's no guarantees. I call on you to join me in the pledge to never tire. And I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but in Louisiana, this is what we do. In 2 Thessalonians 3:13, it says, never tire of doing what is right. We ask that Congress do what's right, and we pledge ourselves to continue the fight until this travesty of justice is overturned. I thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you for letting me be a part of you. I'm going to join you there under the tree. Right on. Good day.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. To echo what Representative Johnson just said, the National Task Force has pledged at almost every one of our Zoom meetings, we are not going away. We're going to keep on fighting. We just heard recently from a powerhouse in education, Randy Weingarten, and now I'd like to introduce someone who represents another education powerhouse, Mr. Noel Candelaria, National Secretary Treasurer of the National Education Association.
Good afternoon, buenas tardes. I'm excited to be here representing the National Education Association and the 3 million educators across this country. You know, NEA has been fighting on this issue since the beginning. I personally, myself, have been fighting on this issue for over 20 years from my first day in the classroom as a classroom teacher, because my colleagues taught me exactly what this was about and how it was going to impact my future and my colleagues. And so for all these years, we've had a lot of work to do, and we've been working really hard. We're almost there, but we can't stop, because these laws, the laws that are in the books right now, threaten not just the retirement of teachers and educators who have committed their lives to public service in our communities, but our police officers, firefighters, and all public servants who we depend on in every one of our communities. See, not only do they hurt the individuals that are affected and their families, they are directly harming and impacting the education professions, making it hard to keep and attract the talent that we need in our classrooms all across this country. See, the government pension offset, the GPO, and the windfall elimination provision, the WEP, were enacted in the late 1970s, like we learned. And educators retiring now are discovering the direct impacts it's having on their lives. The law, especially the GPO, disproportionately impacts women. The majority of our profession in public education who are women, it's directly impacting them. Many of those women who are facing poverty in retirement. It is unjust. It is unjust for anyone in this country who has dedicated their lives to public service to face poverty as a public servant in this country. See, we met educators all across this country who have come face to face with the tremendous financial loss because of these laws. One educator that I met after 35 years retired only to discover that the death of her husband, because of that death, she wasn't entitled to the survivor benefit of his 30 years of payment into Social Security. So another one of our members came to the profession after earning her degree at the age of 40. But her decision to teach means that she will lose much of the Social Security benefit that she paid into and earned while making a living and putting herself through school. See, this is not just an issue of fairness. It's not just an issue of justice and respect. For us, this is also about the future of the profession at a time when we are facing an educator shortage in this nation. We have to ask ourselves, at a time when we need teachers in our classrooms more than ever, we want to call on the expertise and the professions around us to come and teach into our classrooms. We must ask, do we respect our teachers and education support professionals enough to ensure that they have a secure retirement? Do we respect our children and our students enough to want to provide the very best education that they deserve? Or do we want to keep discouraging dedicated and committed individuals in our communities from considering a profession in education? See, it is time for Congress to act. There's a bill in front of them right now, the Social Security Fairness Act. It repeals these unfair laws and restores the benefits that families and individuals have earned. That's all we are asking for. Give back the benefit that they have duly earned, that they have paid into this system. Our message to Congress is simple. If you want to ensure that our children have the qualified, certified educators in their classrooms, you can take the action to assure that educators in their retirement have access to the benefit that they were promised. If you are serious about encouraging professionals from the private sector to move into our education professions, you have to repeal the offsets. We cannot continue to tell hundreds and thousands of public servants that they have to wait. The time is now. The time is now to repeal the GPO WEP and put this behind us so that our retirees can live the life of dignity that they deserve. Thank you.
All right.
It is 20 degrees cooler in the shade, everybody. Our next is Mr. William Shilford, who is the National President, National Active and Retired Federal Employees. And we'll get to everybody behind us who are speakers as soon as we can. But William, why don't you come on up? There you go.
As you said, I'm Bill Shackelford, National Active and Retired Federal Employees Association. Retiree from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And I feel like I'm at home. 3 of my assignments during that 35-year career were in New Orleans, Louisiana. For over 4 decades, windfall elimination provision and government pension offset have unfairly reduced and even wiped out earned Social Security benefits of public servants, punishing those who chose to answer the call for public service in their nation, states, and local communities. And on behalf of NARF and all federal employees and federal retirees, I strongly urge Congress to end these unfair Social Security penalties. NARF would like to thank Representatives Garrett Graves and Abigail Spanberger, along with 2 individuals we haven't mentioned. On the other side, Senators Sherrod Brown and Susan Collins, for their unwavering support and leadership in ending WEP GPO. These lawmakers and all those who support with them understand how unfair this has been for 40 years.
Yes, sir.
That's why NARF, with 140,000 members, alongside a strong contingent I think the podium should have been set up in the shade.
Yeah. Second. Take your time, buddy.
According to the Social Security Administration, more than 2 million individuals currently have Social Security benefits that...
We're good. We're good. We got you. We got you. Let's get a seat.
We need a bottle of water.
Yeah.
Bottle of water.
You know, yeah, we got a seat right over here. Let's try to get your jacket off, you think? Why don't you bring that stool over here?
Jean's got it first, water.
Hang on, hang on. The stool right underneath.
Next guest speaker is Judy Beard from the American Postal Workers. She's the Legislative and Political Director. Welcome, Judy. Thank you.
Before I start, I think we should have a moment to give our prayers and best wishes, a speedy recovery for the previous speaker. I'm Judy Beard, the Legislative and Political Director of the American Postal Workers Union. Our 200,000 APWU members and retirees, led by our President Mark Demestein and our retiree director Nancy Alumacore, all are with you to fight till we win. We're going to fight until we win. Yes. Because for too long, the windfall elimination provision and government pension offset, it has been, our funds have been cut. Yes. For no reason whatsoever, to many seniors who are entitled and paid into Social Security. And in the fight for justice, we know an injury to one is an injury to all. Yes. Tragically, many do not learn about this cut at all until they retire and they're entitled to Social Security and they have budgeted the money for the rest of their life. And then they learn that they have to budget, they don't have enough food to live off of, they don't have enough to pay their rent, they need more money for living essentials. All because Congress decided to do something wrong many years ago. They have to right this wrong. Fortunately, Congresswoman Spanberger and Congressman Graves and Senator Brown and Senator Collins are leading this fight with the bipartisan bill. APWU is proud to be a part of this fight. Let's tell Congress to right their wrong. What we are telling Congress, what? Right their wrong. What do we want? When do we want it? Now. Seniors worked hard. They deserve full benefits. It's time for Congress to do their job. Repeal the GPO and WEP.
Thank you. Great job. Thank you.
Our next speaker is somebody that I have seen of congressional hearings talking about Social Security, and it is Max Richmond, who is the President and CEO of the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare. Welcome, Max.
All right, Max. Thank you very much. But Judy Beard is a tough act to follow, but I've done it a few times. I'll try once more. I'm Max Richmond, the President and CEO of the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare, and I want to thank the National WEP and GPO Task Force for inviting me to participate. We've been working on this for a very, very long time. On behalf of the millions of members and supporters of our organization, I strongly support repealing the GPO and the WEP. Social Security is the nation's premier social insurance program. It helps families weather the loss of income when a worker retires, becomes disabled, dies young. Among its important features, Social Security has the unique ability to lift up workers who have spent a lifetime in low-wage jobs. When they retire or become disabled, Social Security provides a benefit that replaces a higher proportion of their earnings than the benefit provided to workers with high earner income. Social Security does not distinguish between those whose entire income from a lifetime of work is low and others whose income is artificially low because they spent a lot of their working years in jobs just not covered by Social Security. To fix that, to remedy that, some believe that that was an unfair advantage. Congress enacted the GPO and the WEP, and it was designed to cut the Social Security benefits of these workers and their spouses so that there would be a more level playing field. But in doing so, Congress created a completely different and unfair set of inequities, cutting Social Security benefits for some people, even though their payroll contributions might be exactly the same as their neighbors whose work history was identical to theirs. In addition, I don't know why they did this, but Congress, and happens often, used a meat axe instead of a scalpel that would have been more appropriate to fix this issue. And this has left millions of retirees, as Judy has just talked about, has left millions of retirees and their families with little or no Social Security benefits, despite paying FICA taxes for many, many years. We believe it's well past time to fix this, to remedy the situation, and the National Committee has endorsed a number of proposals to accomplish that. We also believe that there should be across-the-board reforms of Social Security dealing with a number of other issues. The cost of living adjustment, that needs to be fixed, as well as other provisions in the Social Security Act. So thank you all. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job, man. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Max. Thank you, Max. And it's with great honor and pleasure to introduce Mr. Everett Kelly. He is the president, the national president of the American Federation of Government Employees. Wow. You guys are all amazing.
Thank you. It's good to be here and to see so many partners and friends out here today. I also want to thank all of the people across the country who couldn't join us in person but are watching us online. Your advocacy is important, and we appreciate you participating. The windfall elimination provision, WEP and government pension offset GPO, unfairly reduces Social Security benefits for federal employees who retire under the Civil Service Retirement System and for families who receive other benefits, such as a pension from a state or local government. More than 2 million Americans have their benefits reduced substantially by the WEP, and around 800,000 affected by the GPO. Now, I say it's time for Congress to repeal these unfair penalties. What do you say? Yes. AFG represents older federal workers who, under the Civil Service Retirement System, CSRS, were excluded from being covered by Social Security. These individuals dedicated their career to public service and are now being unfairly penalized. But it's not just older retired impacted. A family receiving an earned pension from overseas is also penalized. And AFG represents tens of thousands of defense workers in Europe and abroad. While not directly impacted from their defense work, these individuals are more than likely to have a pension from another job overseas or to marry someone with a pension from working in another country. It's unfair to penalize our overseas defense workers, keeping our country safe. The WEP and GPO have to go. What do you say? I say they have to go, and they have to go now. I also talk regularly to workers at the Social Security Administration, an agency struggling to recruit and retain talented employees after years of underfunding. Eliminating the WEP and GPO penalties will mean fewer people calling and visiting SSA, reducing wait times at Social Security field offices and its telephone centers. The WEP and GPO penalize public servants and contributions to the overworked and underpaid Social Security Administration. It's time for Congress to repeal these unfair penalties and eliminate the WEP and the GPO. Now, I applaud Representative Graves and Spanberger and Senator Brown and colleagues for their bipartisan efforts in leading the Social Security Fairness Act. I also want to thank Representative John Lawson for including provisions to repeal the WEP and the GPO in his Social Security 100 bill. The American Federation of Government Employees and its 750,000 that we support getting rid of the WEP and GPO. And I say we are ready now. And I want to know one thing. Are you ready for Congress to hear you? Are you ready for Congress to hear what you got to say? Let me hear you say it's got to go now. It has to go now. Because we will not stop. We will not give up until this battle has been won. Thank you. God bless you. I love you all. Let's continue in the struggle. Thank you.
Oh, wow, he's tall. All right, it's our speaker again. It's great to introduce these people. I'm just blown away. Dr. Dan Toth, he's the director of the retired members of the National Association of Letter Carriers. So give it up.
Good afternoon. Is 40 years too long for you? Because I'll tell you what, 40 years is too long for me. I got an internal clock. And that clock's ticking. We've been waiting a long time to self-resolved, and it is yet to get resolved. Because you know why? 40 years is too long.
Yes,
All right. My name is Dan Toth. I am the director of retired members of the National Association of Letter Carriers. Our union represents 280,000 members, and 80,000 of them are retired. Yeah. And they are affected by WEP and the GPO, including myself. Think about the WEP. They could have chosen any name for the WEP, but they chose windfall. Windfall. Now, my definition of a windfall and their definition of a windfall are completely opposite.
That's right.
Because you know what? I want what I'm earned.
Yeah.
That is not a windfall.
That's right.
That is my money.
Yeah.
And I tell you this, I'm with you, keep your hands out of my pocket.
Yeah.
That's my money. I want my money.
Yeah. Yeah, baby.
I hear from our members every single day.
Yeah.
Frustrated, wanting to know when this is going to come to an end and when they're going to receive their full Social Security benefits. And I have to tell them the long story about it's in the House and it's going to pass and then it's going to get to the Senate and it'll probably die there. No, unacceptable. That needs to change, and that needs to change everything now. But like everyone else here, we represent public servants. Letter carriers spend their working lives serving their communities and providing an essential service that all Americans rely on. It is unfair and infuriating that we're here today to the tens of thousands of letter carriers and millions of other federal employees that are being robbed of their benefits. We all of us, deserve to receive the full benefits that we've earned and paid for. As I said, I paid 6.2%, you paid 6.2%, and we want our money and our share of our Social Security benefit, and anything less is unacceptable.
Yes. Right on. Yes.
This doesn't happen in the private sector. So why has Congress continued to allow money to be taken out of our pockets of our public servants? We're not asking for anything extra. We're simply just asking for what we have earned throughout our working careers. I am grateful for the overwhelming bipartisan support of H.R. 82 that has received so far in Congress. But we need to keep this momentum up. We need action. As I stated from the beginning, 40 years is too long. And that time has come now to get this bill passed. I'm hoping that this Congress will see it through. For our retirees living on fixed incomes, repealing the WEP and GPO will make a world of difference. They spent their careers serving their communities, and we owe it to them to repeal WEP and GPO and finally give them the full Social Security benefits that they have earned. Thank you for having me here today. I am proud to stand here alongside all of you, and let's keep working together to finally repeal the WEP and the GPO. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're with you. Great job. Thank you. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce Mr. Ed Kelly. General President of the International Association of Firefighters. Yes.
Thank you very much. For 40 years, the federal government has been stealing from the people that make government work. The people just pulled up in that ambulance to drive those trains, to teach our children, to police our streets, and to fight our fires. We heard a lot from our friends down in Louisiana here today. Let me tell you, the average Louisiana firefighter works 56 hours a week, makes about $12 an hour. For generations, firefighters have worked 2, 3, and as my brother Dickie, the Portland, Maine firefighter said, he worked 4 jobs at one point. We pay into this Social Security, but we don't get out of it what we paid into it. That's just plain wrong. We're not asking for more. We're asking for fair.
Yes, sir.
We want this Congress to finally take action and recognize the robbery that took place in the 1980s and correct those Social Security checks that our members earned and paid into for not 5, not 10, in some cases 40 years, and are getting screwed every month.
Yes, sir.
Let's not forget those flags waving over our Capitol were born under the concept of no taxation without representation. Well, we pay our Social Security tax. We want it represented in our Social Security check, and it's time to right that ship. We're in this fight right with you.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you very much.
Right on.
Thank you, Ed. That was great. We're almost through. We have a few more speakers, and I would like to introduce one of our own task force members, Dr. Jean Sokolowski, who is president of the Polish-American Strategic Initiative. Jean, come on up.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Jean Sokolowski, and I'm with the Polish-American Strategic Initiative, a proud member of this National WEP GPO repeal task force. We represent foreign pension recipients, which is the 4th largest group among the 50 states that is adversely affected by the WEP. Foreign pension recipients are Americans who worked abroad, earned a foreign pension, returned to the states, and earned a Social Security pension. Foreign pension recipients are also foreign nationals who earned a pension in their home country, legally immigrated to the states to pursue the American dream, and earned a Social Security pension. So why are foreign pension recipients penalized by the WEP? Well, it's because our brothers and sisters, for the very same reason that they are penalized by the WEP. It's because we all had the audacity and the tenacity to earn a second non-Social Security pension. Now for 2023, the WEP will withhold up to $557 from each monthly Social Security pension check. Also for 2023, the Chief Actuary of the Social Security Administration estimates that $14 billion will be withheld this year because of the WEP and GPO penalties. Ladies and gentlemen, like so many others before me have said, this has been going on for 40 years, and just think of how many hundreds of billions of dollars have been unfairly withheld because of the WEP and GPO penalties. It's time to end this long-standing injustice. It's an irrational injustice. And luckily we have Representative Graves from Louisiana and Representative Spanberger who are championing the bill H.R. 82. As you know, it's a strongly bipartisan bill, and we now have luckily 290 co-sponsors, but we need more and we need everybody's help to get it. So please call your congressmen, call your congresswomen, urge them to co-sponsor H.R. 82, and for those who have already done so, please thank them for helping us end this long-standing irrational injustice. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Gene. And our last speaker, unless I've missed someone, please come up and tell me, is Ms. Katie Maddox, Legislative and Political Director for the National Postal Mail Handlers Union. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you, Susan. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Katie Maddox. As Susan said, I am the Legislative and Political Director for the Mail Handlers Union. And, you know, whenever I go and speak with members of Congress, you know, I tout the Postal Service and the jobs that it provides to hardworking Americans. I always say our members know that they are getting good pay, good health benefits, and retirement benefits. However, everyone here knows that that's not necessarily true on that last aspect for everyone. There are some people who are just getting shafted and not getting the full benefits that they need, that they deserve, and that they've earned. Those impacted by GPO and WEP led a life dedicated to public service. I don't need to tell anyone here that. We have representative teachers, first responders, federal workforce, and the postals. It's not, we serve our lives to serve others, and we should get the retirement benefits that we have earned. And as they prepare for retirement, as they are in the middle of their retirement, they should have the financial means to do so. Those who have spent their careers in the Postal Service and the federal government are entitled to their full retirement benefits.
Yes.
GPO WEP, as we have said all afternoon, for 40 years, over 40 years, puts these men and women, these dedicated men and women, at an unfair disadvantage during their golden years. It is time to fix this. It is time. So NPMHU is grateful to the Representatives Graves and Spanberger and Senators Brown and Collins for their bipartisan work to repeal GPO WEP. It is long overdue.
Yes.
I am tired of seeing this bill come to the House and Senate Congress. We need to get it passed in both houses. We need it signed by the President. Now is the time.
Yes.
And additionally, I'd like to thank the Repeal Task Force for bringing attention to this to this issue and making sure our voices are today. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing a collective effort on making sure that this is fixed. Thank you.
Katie. Thank you so much.
We do, and we have one of our task force speakers who's going to close out with our next steps, and then our chair is going to talk about how we need to stay together. And we're going to be sending this link to all the Congress members who have not co-sponsored. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
In the words of the late politician and activist, when you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, you have to speak up. You have to say something. You have to do something. So turn that burning desire for repeal into your North Star. Engage in group calls to action to contact legislators to co-sponsor H.R. 82 and 597. Join the National WEP and GPO repeal movement and the National WEP GPO Repeal Task Force. Sign up for the twice weekly California Retired Teachers Association legislative alerts. As As constituents, you matter most. Therefore, we ask you to stage local and state level campaigns to get your elected officials on board. Contact your unions, retiree organizations, and state legislatures and encourage them to introduce resolutions supporting the repeal. If you live in the Washington area, be ready to attend hearings and visit legislative offices to get our message out. We can do this. So we ask you to rise as an advocate for yourself and in turn be an ally and advocate for others. In solidarity with nearly 3 million Americans and their families, our fellow public servants, our unions, and retiree organizations. The time for the repeal is now. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. You're closing it out. And I did.
First of all, thank all of you for staying with us, and for our speakers. If any of you are still with us, we have certificates of opinion for you from the National Repeal WEP GPO Task Force. And also there will be an updated press release that will be going out. But as Pam said, and I echo everything Pam said, you know, we just have to reach out. And also, if you have friends and family who live out of state, ask them to contact their senators and representatives to get them to sign on to the bill. And if they have, thank them, and that would really go a long way to spread this across the country. So again, thank you so much for your patience, and have a good rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you. Janice Hernandez over here has